almost anybody can pick up a camera and get on one of those steady cams and walk around. So you see it all the time, and that's cool and all, and you're getting some nice shots. But is it memorable, or is it telling a unique story?
Like, you look at people with Lamborghinis and like, nice cars and watches on Instagram. Like 90% of that is like rented, and it's not real.
You and I could be pop stars with auto-tune. Everybody can be. Right. So there's a uniqueness I think there's a uniqueness in talent that's always going to overcome any kind of technology.
All right, Dad, welcome to the Voice of Production.
Thank you, Satch.
I'm happy to have you on. Happy to be in your office. It's an honor.
I'm honored to be here.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, we've been talking about doing a podcast for a while now, right?
We have.
Yeah.
We talk a lot, but we never record it.
Right. Yeah, I feel like now we should. So, I'm super excited to have you on because personally, maybe people don't know, but I've learned a lot from you.
Thank you.
And I have my own business, right? And like, I feel like everything that I've learned is kind of rooted from you. So, I'm super excited to have you on and kind of pick your brain, and hopefully you could provide value to this audience here.
I will do my best.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Cool. So let's get started. How you got into video production? You started in journalism, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I go back all the way to when I was 5 years old, and I'll tell a quicker story. So it's not like, a 50-year long story, but when I was 5 years old, I loved to write stories. As soon as I could start reading and writing, that's what I did. And I loved to write stories. And I even loved it more when the teacher would read the stories and say, "Oh, little Jimmy Manley wrote this." And I realized that being creative like that was just, it was awesome. It was a way to inspire people. It was a way to get my creative juices flowing, in my brain. I had things I didn't know why I was thinking them or what it meant. Of course, I was young, but I thought, I put it on paper and I get it out, and it made me feel better. So then going into college, I got into radio at first, and then I discovered TV and video, and man, the power that you have with a camera, or the power that I found that I had with a camera, audio, editing, to tell people stories. It was just awesome. You know, I was like, oh my gosh.
It's a way to kind of amplify, right? From the paper going to camera. Now you can play with, focal lengths, lighting, all that stuff.
Everything is just telling people stories. It's always been awesome. And
you brand yourself as a storyteller, right? I mean, that's your...
Well, I think everybody's a storyteller. I think a lot of people might not know that they are, but we all have a story to tell, and we all have a story within us too. But yeah, I'm a storyteller.
Yeah, we were just talking about that the other day. That most businesses don't even know they have a story because they think they're just boring corporate business. But that's kind of where you and I kind of have that expertise in like finding the story, right?
Right. Well, when I taught at ASU, Arizona State University, for 18 years, and while I started out in the news business. You remember that,
right?
But while I was in the news business, I taught at Arizona State University, and one of the first things I would do with a class is I would ask everybody. I'd go around the room. And I said, "Please tell me something unique about yourself." And most people were like, "I don't have anything unique." And it just took a few questions, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I do have something unique to tell."
What do you think is unique about you?
Oh my gosh, I have so many unique things. I was adopted. I was in an orphanage for the first 6 weeks of my life. So right there, that's just, that's unique. That's one of many, many things.
Right. What's like, I'm curious because I've never really talked to you about this. Like I know like your upbringing in journalism and news and stuff, but was there a moment that sparked for you where you were like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life? Because I know me personally, while you're thinking about that, me personally, the moment that sparked for me was being on set with you. When I was growing up, when I was growing up and and you had me as a production assistant, and you like even put me in commercials here and there. Like,
oh yeah, you're in commercials,
right? Yeah, still probably to this day, right?
Little Satch Manley, and
but yeah, you put me in like U-Haul commercials, you know, Phoenix Children's Hospital,
Grand Canyon University.
Yeah, so like seeing that, and then I also got to be on some big film sets too of yours, where you had like 20-person crews, and I remember growing up and seeing that from a young age, and I was like, wow, this is where I want to be. Like, that's what really sparked it for me. And like just seeing that and experiencing it as a young kid, and then watching, you know, you deliver the end product to the client and seeing the satisfaction, like that whole process to me was like, I want to do this.
That's cool.
So what was that for you?
Oh man. Well, I go back to what I said earlier. I don't know if this was the thing, but just having the teacher when I was in first grade or kindergarten or whatever it was, reading my story to the class, and everybody reacting to it. I love to see people react, and what storytelling is, what music is, what any of that is. It's the whole idea is to make it memorable. First of all, there's no such thing as cranking out content as far as I'm concerned. Is it memorable?
Right.
Is your story memorable?
Right.
Is your song memorable? Whatever it might be. So I just remember evoking emotion, right? And that's what a good storytelling does. And watching, you know, my teacher enjoy what I wrote, and the kids who understood what I wrote, you know, reacting to it, that was pretty cool. And I guess that, you know, if you ask my earliest memory, that was it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's super important, right? Is learning that it's not just volume of short, like you just put a bunch of content out there, hope it goes viral, right? Like that's not the key. Is really figuring out how to evoke the emotion of your business. Like if you go to Red Bull's Instagram, for example, right? That's what made me kind of think of it. If you go to Red Bull's Instagram, it's all entertainment. You know, none of it's the product at all. None of it's the Red Bull cans and say, hey, like our drink is tasty. It's all entertainment, people doing extreme sports. It's the feeling you get from buying the product.
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
We've done, for example, we've done commercials for air conditioning company. Show maybe one or two air conditions in the whole commercial for like a total of a second and a half. That's not why you're buying an air conditioner from this company. You're buying it for many, many other reasons.
That's like one of the main things that I learned from you is like figuring out that emotion to convey.
Sure. Especially now with technology, like almost anybody can pick up a camera and get on one of those steady cams and walk around. You see it all the time. And, that's cool and all, and you're getting some nice shots, but is it memorable, or is it telling a unique story? No.
Yeah. Is it just documenting what's there, or is it like actually creating something that's going
to be memorable?
Right.
That's going to evoke emotion, and emotion can run the gamut. You know, it could be happy. It could make somebody sad.
Nostalgia.
It could cause them to go, when we're talking about advertising products. It's like, oh yeah, I think I'm gonna go buy that. Yeah. That's an emotion, you know?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So we're kind of talking about your expertise in like how to evoke emotion. Like I want to talk about why that matters, right? What's your mission? You kind of told us what sparked it for you the moment you said, I want to do this for the rest of your life. What's kind of your overall mission? Like, why are you doing this? Like,
oh man,
right?
I believe I'll go a little deeper than that. I believe that we're all here to make each other better. I just believe that it's not about how pretty of a video I can make or how good of a dad I am. Or whatever it might be. It's all about we're here to take the best things from each other and try to make the world a better place. Ultimately, if you're asking me at the very basis of what I think, that's what I think.
Yeah. And you think Manley Creative, and you've branded your, business to kind of go along with that, right?
Yeah, our core focus. We have a core focus, right? Mm-hmm. Or a core mission statement.
Let's start with what is Manley Creative, because I don't even think we got into that.
Okay. Well, yeah, Manley Creative, we're a full service marketing agency. We started out with just production like you do, but we've expanded over the years into production plus digital.
Right.
So marrying that whole agency model together, but building it differently. I think a lot of agencies are built the other way, where they start with advertising gurus and all this stuff, and then they have the production model built in, and it's not even like they don't even have anybody with that production expertise. Our model's built differently. Almost everybody here has production expertise. Plus, now over the last several years, we built in the digital aspect where we do, social media, everything that has to do with digital, and marrying those two together. So the content that we create, the memorable content that we create, can be used effectively for memorable advertising.
Yeah, I mean, that's really important, right? And I think creative's probably a thing that people don't think about now. They think, well, I'm just going to pour as much money into advertising as possible, and then hopefully I'll get a result, right? Because if I'm putting $1 million into advertising, I'm going to get a result, right? But the truth is, if your creative doesn't resonate with the audience that you're advertising to, it doesn't matter how much money you put into it.
Right. You can be as creative as you want to be, but if you don't have a process, a plan, and a roadmap to go with that, it's most likely is not going to work. Now, maybe 1 out of 1,000,000 times or 1 out of 1,000 times or whatever, it'll work. But if there's not a process behind it, and if there's not a plan behind it, and if there's not a roadmap to get you there, and your ultimate goal, and what your ultimate goal is, and what's the point? It's just like if I say, hey, Satch, I need you to drive to Switzerland tomorrow. I mean, I need you to get to Switzerland tomorrow. Right. If you don't look up an itinerary and put a plan together and have a process for that plan, and maybe have some people helping you, how are you going to get there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Otherwise, you're just winging it.
You're winging it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just heading east.
Right. Yeah. So I kind of want to talk to you about how the video landscape is changing, the video marketing landscape, right? We have
I was going to ask you about that.
Well, yeah, right. I know, right? It's kind of like the younger generation, right? But you're really good at, probably one of the best I know at evoking emotion and making a quality video. But the landscape is changing, right? With hooks, with thumbnails, like getting the interest, right? Mm-hmm. People talk about attention spans. We can get into that. I don't really believe that as much, but
I'm with you there.
Yeah. What do you see happening to video marketing right now?
Oh man. Well, I think that, first of all, I'm going to say I'm never afraid of technology. I've been doing this for over 30 years.
Yeah.
And I've seen technology change. I mean, geez, when I started out when I worked in the newsroom back in the early 90s, they were on typewriters. Yeah. I walked in there and they're on typewriters. I'm like, okay. Yeah. And I saw them go to computers. And then I saw tape-to-tape editing. Most people don't even know what that is anymore. Tape-to-tape editing, go to digital editing, right?
Yeah.
And I saw people freak out then. They're like, oh my gosh, the old timers would freak out about that. Or when camera technology changed, they go, oh my gosh, these cameras, anybody can use these cameras now. Or what am I going to? I've seen technology change. So we're going through a massive technology shift right now.
Absolutely.
And I think I love it. I mean, either embrace it or you become a dinosaur, you know? So it doesn't scare me. I think it's important to embrace it and to understand it, to get ahead and understand it. Now there are ethical boundaries that with this new technology that might be crossed, but ultimately I think storytelling, if you're not being authentic.
Yeah. I talk about that all the time on this podcast. It's like, I wouldn't worry too much about AI because, you have to pay attention. As long as you're paying attention, I think that's really the key, right?
Well, if there's a plug and play solution, for example, with AI, say I can go, hey, I want to do this story about that table over there, and I want it to be 2 minutes long, and I want it to be a sales piece about that table, and I shove it into whatever AI software is out there.
It's just going to replicate what everyone else is doing.
Yes, and eventually everything is going to look the same. There's going to be no uniqueness behind it. Now, the uniqueness comes from here.
Yeah.
So I'm not afraid of using AI. I love using it, but if you're using AI to create it and that's it for you, then what are we doing?
Because anyone can do that.
I quit it to auto-tune, right?
Yeah.
Auto-tune was huge in whatever it was, the 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
But you still hear it, and I think it's a useful tool, right? But everybody started doing it. So what happens? Well, it's not going to become unique anymore. So who stands out? The person who has the real talent. And you started to see real singers come along again and go, oh yeah, I don't need that. And that's what it's because you and I could be pop stars with auto-tune. Everybody can be.
Right.
So there's a uniqueness I think there's a uniqueness in talent that's always going to overcome any kind of technology.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, in my business, we could talk about yours as well, but in my business, we are using a lot of AI tools. We're using a bunch, but they mainly take care, actually, pretty much all of them take care of the menial tasks that take a lot of time.
That's right.
And that leaves us more time to think about how can we separate our client from everyone else and how can we make this unique, right? That gives us more time to think creatively, because when you're focused on, tasks that take a lot of time, your brain is thinking linearly. It doesn't have time to go outside the box. So that's really where AI can help us, is give us that capacity to think outside of the box and think about how we could be unique and how we could be different from everyone else.
Sure.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. If you want to be a robot, you can be a robot, but you can get passed up by a human that has actual emotions at some point.
Right. So how are you preparing for this landscape with Manley Creative and maybe even yourself?
Yeah. One thing we've been doing, as I mentioned, over the last several years, one thing we've been doing is moving towards more of a full service agency, because, with technology changing, especially with cameras and, your cell phone, my goodness, your cell phone alone, you still have to know how to use it and tell a story, but your cell phone can shoot some pretty good photos and it can shoot some pretty good video. Now, when we get into cameras like what you're using right here, they're pretty inexpensive. Back just, let's say 10 years ago, you would have been in over $100,000 with your camera equipment alone. Right. There was no other options. Now there's a lot of other options. So, a lot of the way we're adapting is, always looking for those higher end jobs for us, the higher end jobs that still need the big production and, and then also that full service model where our clients who have come to us for video in the past, where we're saying, we can do more than that. We can do your social media. And not only can we do it, we can do it really well, because I'm going to apply the same standards that I have for video to doing social media, to doing email marketing, to doing SEO, to doing any of that stuff. So really that whole holistic approach with clients saying we can handle all of your business, because from a content standpoint, where it's, my company, the size that it isn't going to be able to compete against somebody like you, where you have one or two or three people, on full time. We're just not going to be able to do that. And that's not the kind of business we're looking for. So just evolving over time. And, I started out just like you did, and for me, it's always just trying to look at least 3 years ahead and saying, what is the landscape going to look like 3 years from now? Because if it was up to me, I love going on set and just shooting videos. I love going on set, doing films. I love all that. But it is not the sustainable model for this company. Right. That's not the sustainable model for this company.
Well, you have to kind of, again, step back, right? You can't be focused in the day to day. You have to have someone who's thinking creatively, not just about, that's the thing about the creative industry. You can't be thinking about, you can't be on set every day. You have to have that person like you who can step back, think creatively. How are we going to evolve? How are we going to grow as a business, right? Because again, you're going to be thinking linearly if you're, in the day to day.
Right. And for me, there's no way to build up a company that I've seen unless you're replicating yourself, right? And finding people better than you are. Like I have 17 people here that are better at some things than I am, right?
But they don't just come that way, right?
That's exactly right. So it starts with removing ego. And I'm not saying don't have an ego and think you're the best at what you do. I'm saying removing ego and saying, okay, am I afraid to let other people get better than me? Am I afraid to train them up and show them what I know? If you are, that's not going to go. From what I've seen, that doesn't go very far.
No, not at all. It translates to on set too, right? If you've ever been on set, and
that's the thing. I haven't been on set. I rarely go on set because I know everything runs smoothly without me now, and that takes several years and vision ahead to go. Okay, this is what I want it to look like in the future. I want to be able to run the business and not have to go on set and worry about a thing. So that's where the processes come in. And we are bad at creatives. Most creatives are very bad at processes, and we're not so great at planning either. Unless that's an innate quality that you have. So, but we have processes upon processes here, plans upon plans. So when we do have any kind of project, whether it be a video, whether it be a marketing project, whatever it might be, or a year-long campaign, our clients don't have to worry because the work has already been done. Now it's time to have fun when the project starts.
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. So what's your favorite part about working in this industry? Right.
Oh my gosh. Being around young people is one of my favorite parts. Being around people who are energetic, younger. Even the old people I like, but
the thing is though, there's so many crappy people in this industry. Like I've seen, some people.
Well, that's true. That's true in any industry,
right? But this, there's a lot like that I've seen, right, growing up. And like I've seen, there's sometimes when people show up with basketball shorts, smoking cigarette, and that's like nothing against people who do that. It's just personally, I look at it as that translates to the client, right?
Well, that's about building a brand too. What do you want people to think when they reflect upon who they just hired with your company, for example?
Yeah.
What do you want them to see? Well, you want them to see the way they want them to see this. There's a lot of companies out there that don't necessarily care about that. They're just getting the work done, but there's not a lot of longevity, I don't think, in that. And I don't have any facts to back that up. I just don't think that there's a lot of longevity to that.
Well, like you said, authenticity is going to be important because people are going to be looking for that, especially going into the AI age where everything's replicated, and people are going to start craving authenticity, I think, more and more. And the more that we can find good people that emulate that, I think the better off we're going to be.
Oh, I 100% agree. I think that and I'm going to sound old, but I say this almost every day. I think that where we're at in society right now, reality is just so blurred. It's just like, people don't know what is real and what's not real. And it's just, I feel like it's something that people crave, but it's so easy to have, to escape from reality. Yeah. Social media, video games, even just regular everyday life. Nothing to me beats human interaction, face to face, talking to other people and not arguing. That's where authenticity comes in, right? Can we have a conversation without arguing our viewpoints? I love that. I love being able to have a conversation, whether it be with a client, with you, with friends, about anything, and not immediately get up and go, well, I don't agree with that. That's the downfall of that would be the downfall of humankind.
Everything's getting more argumentative nowadays, especially with comments on social media and stuff. And it's just getting like, I don't even look at my comments at all.
Well, now we both sound like old men punching clouds.
Well, no, but it's true. Like, and I think people are starting to catch on to it too. But
I hope so. I really hope so, because life is tough. Life can be very, very tough for most people. And even for the people it's easy for, they're going to go through tough times. Right. And it's just so easy to escape. And, we have lots of anxiety problems now. We have lots of, depression. We have, there's so many issues. But I think the big contributor to me is that it's so easy to escape reality now. Yeah. It used to be all you could do to escape reality is take drugs or drink. Now you have social media.
You have it in your pocket.
Yeah, you have it in your pocket, right? And now it's just like, and I don't think those things, like, I don't think video games are bad. I don't think social media is bad. The way they're being used right now is bad because it's something that I don't think most society can handle.
I think that's why I take the approach to video marketing that I do, because the way I do things is I try to make the videos that I create as authentic as possible. Because there's nothing like that. Although internet's flooded with things that are just like, brain, whatever. It's flooded with a bunch of dopamine inducing content, right? So that's why I love podcasts too. And I think that's why podcasts are going to grow a lot in the future, because it's a conversation that you're
two
being
people
authentic.
having a conversation.
Yeah.
Authentic conversation.
And it's authentic. And that's why I think podcasting is going to grow even more in 2024.
That's interesting. Right? That's an interesting way to look at it, because I can't sit here on this podcast and yell at you like I might on Twitter or X or whatever it's called.
You can, but
right
I'd
now.
edit it out.
But you know, yeah, right. But you know what I mean? Like when you're face to face with some, you've seen it in emails. Like we see clients sometimes that might get very upset with us in the email, but then pick up the phone and you know what? Everything's cool. We're just talking now. We're talking and we're like, oh, well, we didn't know that. Now let's fix that.
Yeah.
So face-to-face interaction, I hope that's coming back. I mean, records came back, so why not?
Right. I'm serious. Like nothing is authentic now. Everyone's trying to fake it online.
Well, I wouldn't say nothing.
Well, nothing, but most things are like, you look at people with Lamborghinis and like, nice cars and watches on Instagram, like 90% of that is like rented and it's not real. People are trying to fake that they're, the shit, right? They're trying to fake it. And the reality is we need to find ways to be authentic. And I think that's really what's going to get results for you. If you're a business or, if you're in marketing watching this, like think about that. Think about what makes you unique and what makes you authentic. And
it's a really, really good point. And one of the things that we preach, so it's a great point that, if your business is not good enough to show in real life, like how it really is, then your business is probably not going to last long, because people are eventually going to find out. So in advertising, show what you're about. Show what my favorite clients, and I think every client we have right now, I'm trying to run through it in my head because I was thinking about this earlier. Every client we have right now has an easily sellable product. They have great products, which makes it so nice to get behind, right, as a marketer and go, you know what? Not only do they have a great product, but they're great people, and I feel really good about doing work for them.
Yeah. And you're at that point now where you can kind of choose, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, we have very strong core values here, but if they're good people that don't have a good product and they want to lie about it, of course I'm not going to do that. But if they're good people who have an okay product, then we're going to talk to them about how you can make that product better, or how you could authentically sell that.
Right, because the thing is our job is to kind of find their story for them, because some people might not even know they have that story. They don't even know they have a golden product. They don't know. Some don't even know why their product sells. Exactly,
and
but
that's why it's
kind of our job. Right?
That's our job.
To find
right?
that. Yeah.
To step back and go, you know what? This is why it sells, because your product is like a million others, but you're a really cool person and they like you, or so it might be something like that, or just they like your name. Let's concentrate on the name of your company.
Yeah.
That's how McDonald's got, that's why McDonald's, Ray Kroc, he wanted to keep the McDonald's name. And he said, can you imagine selling hamburgers with Kroc hamburgers? He's like, he liked that McDonald's name. If you've ever seen that movie, The Founder.
Yeah, I have seen it twice. It's a great movie. But that actually kind of sparked something for me, because I think personal brands though are becoming more and more prevalent. And nowadays, like we talk about, McDonald's, Ray Kroc. When we think about Apple, we think about Steve Jobs, Tesla, Elon Musk, so on and so forth, right? But the thing about brand and personal brand is that it gives you influence that money cannot buy. For example, right? If you have, I don't know who like Mark Cuban, for example, right? If you have Mark Cuban come up to you and he says, Jim, I have 12 slots open a year that I can mentor. I can mentor you and your business. I have 12 slots a year. I only have one left, and I want you to be that one. What would you say? You'd say yes, right?
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah, because he's built his. You're talking about because he's built his brand
that's a person. Well, he's built his brand as someone that you say yes to before you even know the offer.
Yeah.
Right. That's the power of personal brand.
Yep, that is very good. That's very well said.
Right. That's kind of the way I look at it. And I think it's becoming more and more important. Would you say?
Oh, absolutely. Who do you stand for? That's, the first thing that I do, or my company does when we're pitching a new client, is tell them about our core values. That's who we are, our core values and our core focus.
Yeah.
Here for our 4 core values: where everyone choose, be present, ready for the curve, and make everything better. That's our 4 core values. And we explain what those mean. So you're talking about branding. So then our core focus, or our mission statement, right, has nothing to do with marketing, has nothing to do with our core focus is genuinely caring about ourselves, our clients, and our community.
Yeah.
That's it. And that is our brand right there. Yeah. So when you're very wise to say that is a key thing. That's what people like that. Yeah. And when we're talking to new clients, we ask them, what is your brand? What is the heartbeat of your product or your service?
Yeah. Something I tell my clients is like, we need to build your brand and your brand image into someone that people say yes to before they even know the offer. That's why I kind of mentioned that, right?
Right. They have to like you. People have to like you.
If they like you, and absolutely, they're going to say yes. And they respect you, right? But so wrapping up here, kind of what's like the biggest lesson that you've learned from this past year?
Oh, this past year? Are you talking about 2020?
2023. Yeah.
Me personally, or are we talking about business or work? Or
for me, it's like I learned to work with the client instead of against. And I think that's actually a lesson you taught me over the phone. Right. I was like, I called you one day. I'm like, Dad, what? I had this like altercation, and I'm like, because I'm very self-critical. I'm always looking to improve. Like if I did something wrong, and I asked you because you have the experience, and I was like, Dad, I really, I don't know what I did here, and this is what happened, and I explained everything to you, and you said, you know what, like you gotta just work with the client. Yeah. You can't. I know I didn't
say you have to, because that's not the way I speak to you. I speak to you from experience here. So from my experience, the way I said it is from my experience.
But that's not the point. It's that, that's kind of the biggest lesson that I learned. And ever since then,
the client. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of,
you're on the same side.
Right. You're on the same side. Mm-hmm. You're not, this isn't like before I was like, this is my video. Like I'm going to produce it. But now it's like, no, this is your video. I'm serving you. Yeah. And we're going to be in this together to figure out how we can amplify your message and grow your brand image and become authentic and right. So that's kind of my lesson.
Yeah, I always think about it as I always take it back to like if you have a vendor come to your apartment to fix your refrigerator, I don't know, I'm just making something up here. Any vendor that you would have that came to your apartment, to your house, right? And they came over and they just started telling you exactly this is how we're going to do it. I don't care what you say. You go, wait, I didn't want the ice maker fixed. I want the refrigerator fixed. They go, I'm going to fix the ice maker though. I feel like that needs it worse. And you're just like, well, I'm not paying you for that. So I always equate it back to that. How do you like to be treated from vendors when you're on the other side of it? And then the answer always presents itself. The other thing that I do when I have, difficult issues to contemplate and to think about, okay, what decision am I going to make, is I always talk to 80-year-old Jim, right? I have a chair up in my office where I actually turn around and have a conversation and ask 80-year-old Jim, okay, what would you do here? Whether it's a personal issue or a work issue, an 80-year-old Satch, 80-year-ld Jim will always have the answer. An 80-year-old whoever is listening to this, they will have the answer, and they'll usually go, come on, man, you know the answer to that.
Because we always like think about stuff we did when we were younger, and we're like, you almost cringe at it, right? But that's, and that's a part of life, right? You grow and you learn, but that's a great point to think about what your future self would say about it. Yeah. And I never thought about it like that, but that's a very interesting point.
It's very helpful. So, I learned a lot of stuff last year, but I think that for me, sharpening the saw, and we've talked about sharpening the saw, it's just so hard. It means, like, for people who don't know what that means, it comes from a book actually, but it's just about
7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Right. And if you're sawing down a tree and you're halfway through, and then the blade gets dull, but you just keep going, no matter what, you're going to be going for a very long time. But if you just take like 10 minutes to sharpen your saw, then you're right back at it.
Right.
And you thought you were wasting time, but you're not. So it's the same thing.
Really, you save time.
Yeah, it's the same thing with your brain. If you're not, because everything, especially as a business owner or somebody who is higher up in a business, there's a lot of emergencies. There's a lot of things going on, or it doesn't necessarily need an emergency. It's just, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
But it's so important just to remove myself.
Right.
And just go, okay, I'm going to take a week off here.
But it's hard. It's hard.
Well,
but you need to make that decision.
Yeah, but it is just like, it's like trying to saw that tree down without a sharp saw. It's not going to get cut down. So, if, for me anyway, if I think that I'm just going to plow through and not take this mental break, then that's just silly.
Yeah.
It's, right. I've learned that from experience, and it's just, and I always come back energized. And now I, daily, with meditation, that's one way daily. That's not a whole week off, that's 20 minutes, or taking a 20-minute walk, just stopping in the middle of the day and taking a 20-minute walk.
Super important.
Those two things have just proven to be so valuable to me, because I come back way more energized and I get way more done than I would have.
Absolutely. But by the way, it's sharpening the axe. I just read.
Well, it could be the saw or the axe. Yeah,
whatever.
Is it really sharpening the axe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the lumberjack, remember?
Yeah.
Whatever. Doesn't matter. So, last question for you, right? Okay. What's one thing, right? Because our audience is mostly like people in marketing, higher up in a company, maybe some business owners who are lower level. What's one thing, coming from your video marketing kind of production expertise, what's one thing that you want to leave the viewer with? It could be something we've said already today. It could be something that you haven't said. But what's one thing kind of going into this new year? AI is kind of scary. The video market landscape is scary.
The one thing that I would recommend is make sure when you're looking for a partner to help you market your, whatever your business, whether it's video, whether it's digital, anything, look at what they're doing and see if you remembered it the next day.
Yeah.
Look at their website. And if you remembered it the next day, that means they're doing something right. Because there's, that is what effective marketing is all about. Did it evoke emotion, and did you remember it?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. I think that's why kind of nostalgia is important, and bringing up a lot of that's why emotions are important, because psychologically we remember things that happened to us, right? We don't remember the dialogue that was said in a podcast. Like maybe you take a feeling from a movie, right? You don't remember the dialogue from the movie.
Did you remember how you felt, right? Did you remember?
You walk out of that movie and you think about how you felt, right? You don't remember what they said. So that's why it's important.
But that's step one. No, that is a huge, I think it's a big step, and it's an easy way to do it. But then of course you have to meet with these folks, right? But I don't approach it any differently than I would if I was buying a shirt off of Amazon or something like that, or a product. I look at reviews. I think it's really, really important to look at reviews for our business if there's a company out there, and then ask for references, ask for client references. Yeah, like ask if they're calling you, I would say, Satch, please give me a couple names of people who you've worked with. Yeah, there's just no better way to do that. That's the way I hire new employees. It's the way I find vendors to do business for me. If somebody needs to fix the cabinets in my house or something, or because, hey man, we're spending a lot of money. Our clients are spending money with us. Yeah. And I want them to make sure that they're getting the best value. And I know you do too. Yeah. So I want them to do their homework, do all the homework you can, and make sure you're finding the best company, because I was just talking to somebody today, a potential new client today, who's gone through like 4 or 5 different marketing organizations, and none of it worked. And it's just like, even though it wasn't us, they're coming to us now. It hurts me to know to think how much money they wasted doing that. And it's just because they didn't know. And if you just take these little things that I just said, look at their website, see if you remember it the next day, look at their reviews, then ask for references. Yeah. And that's how you're really going to find out.
That's great advice. That's great. advice to end on.
Cool.
Yeah. So hey, thank you, Dad, for coming on the podcast. It was really a pleasure. I'm glad I got to pick your brain and really like go into your background. It was awesome. So let's do this again.
I'm happy to do it. Yeah. We talk all the time, but we got to maybe we just put microphones in our cars.
Yeah, just have a lav mic all day around us.
Thank you, Satch.
All right. Thank you, Dad. Until next time.